So thinking about that, right? Building an agency. If you look at that word, building an agency obviously can be an organization, insurance, a team, brokerage, what have you. But even if you just think about the different meaning of that word, the word agency, I looked it up. To take agency, it's to take action or intervention to produce a particular effect. If you are surrendered and committed to doing the work, why not do that work with more significance and with the bigger vision? One of the things that you're going to have to do, it's uncomfortable, is you have to start saying it out loud. You have to say the thing that sounds weird, scary, awkward. You might have to say it like 100 times before you feel comfortable with it. All right, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. This is Pedro Vega. Welcome to our Cardinal Senior Benefits Morning Pursuit Call. Here at Cardinal, we promote peace of mind. We begin again, and we pursue excellence. We do that a bunch of different ways, mainly by controlling what we can control with our effort and by being intentional with our attitude. We do our best here at Cardinal to choose and cultivate a positive attitude of service and perspective, right? We know that it's hard to be nervous if our heart's on service. And whenever we're thinking biggest picture, we tend to win. We tend to serve better. And guys, thank you so much for being with me today. I am fired up. I'm still kind of running a little bit on a high from this past weekend. I got to be in Georgia. I got to see a bunch of our agents at this national distribution conference. And I got to see a mentor of mine just have an incredible milestone. Do over 100 million in production in a year. Frank Buse did 117 million in distribution in his, I guess you could say, it's his 37th year in the business. And it's got me fired up. It's got me so fired up because I'm thankful for his impact in my life. And that's the cool thing about leadership. Leadership has so many ripples to its legacy, right? Whenever you make a sacrifice, you're never the only one that benefits. And that guy started like every single one of you at some point. He was an agent of one. Okay, no team. He was one person that had an opportunity to really live up to a standard. And he had a very high standard for himself with work ethic. And it's just crazy to think about what can happen. It's crazy to think about what can happen with your story. If we thought big enough, if we thought with enough significance. And yeah, I'm very motivated that when someone puts something in my life, I wanna pay it forward. I want to add to their story by whatever I give out into the world. And I've been very blessed to work with a bunch of people that are on this call right now. A lot of people have been on this call 6, 7, 8 years now. And one thing I know about the people we work with is that if someone else can do it, we can do it. And I believe that. I believe there's people on this call that we're going to see 100 million in a year production together. Like I believe that's going to happen. He did that in year 37. I think if we really put our mind to it, we make the right kinds of decisions consistently, we're going to do that a lot sooner. A lot sooner. I mean, I really believe that's something that can happen, in the next 3 to 4 years. There's been so much that's gotten into the last really 2 to 3 years. We've really dug into this business, really tightened up a lot of things that I'm excited to see a bunch of our leaders start to build, really start building their agency. We kind of took a pause on that for a little bit because we have to work on the business, not just in the business. And now I think it's really time. It's really time to challenge ourselves to be better leaders, to write a better story, to think bigger. And that's part of my message today. So thinking about that, right? Building an agency. If you look at that word, building an agency obviously can be an organization, insurance, a team, brokerage, what have you. But even if you just think about the different meaning of that word, the word agency, I looked it up. To take agency, it's to take action or intervention to produce a particular effect. So if you want to build an agency, you want to build a team, that means you're going to need to take more action. And it says to produce a particular effect. That means you need to have intention on what you are trying to do, right? The clarity of our vision determines our level of motivation. So likely, the more difficulty that we're having is tied to we're probably thinking too small. I'm thinking about, man, I really need to make this payment, or I really need to make a sale today, versus like man, I'm going to teach hundreds of people how to provide for themselves one day. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of people on this call that they've already learned how to make that six figures. Some that have already learned to make that multiple six figures. Here's the next idea. Can you teach somebody else to make six figures, to keep six figures? What would that feel like? Okay. Can you teach somebody else to get to multiple six figures? And if you're thinking that big, I just think in general, whatever inconvenience, suffering, discomfort, things like that, it's just, hey, I need that. I need a lot more of that if I'm going to get to what I want to get to one day. Right. So, you know, there's going to be a lot more people in this organization. They're going to have agencies. They're going to have teams. I'm kind of thinking about some wording that I'm excited about. Millionaires in the making. Have $1 million team, a team that's doing 1 million in a year in distribution. Have a $2 million team, a team that's doing 2 million a year in distribution, a $3 million team. Okay, we have several leaders in the organization that have done that. Okay, and we need to get back to that. And now's the time. That this opportunity has never been stronger here at Cardinal. So okay, so how can I do that? So here's a thought there. One, you got to, it makes me think of like the fundamentals of leadership. John Maxwell, right? So a great leader knows the way. Okay, so they know how to provide for themselves. That's another way to think about it. They know how to do what they do at a high level. Again, you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you won't go. Right? That's the next part of leadership. A leader knows the way. He goes the way. Right? So it's not just to know it. They have to actually say with conviction, "I've been there. I've done that. I know how to do it." So they have to go the way, and then beyond that, they have to show the way. Show the way means you're thinking with vision. You're challenging people to think bigger, maybe think more about what they can do. Because, guys, leadership is rare. A lot of people talk the talk. Most people don't walk the walk. Or if they do, they haven't mastered the ability to do it consistently. And this is a business we're in that not only is the money there, but if you can learn how to do it consistently, you can have the work-life balance. You got money, work-life balance, man, you can build. And you can build something special. I've been very blessed to work with a bunch of great people the last 16 years in organization building. But this is the best team I've ever been a part of. Like right now. And there's so many things in place that I'm so confident are just about to explode. We've been right around the 10 million mark for a number of years. We had a lower year, we bounced back. And I think us going from 10 million to 20 million it could happen in the next year. It can happen in the next 18 months for sure. But it comes down to what is our capacity for leadership, and can I get more of you to think bigger? My question for you is, why not? Why not you? If you are surrendered and committed to doing the work, why not do that work with more significance and with the bigger vision? One of the things that you're going to have to do, and it's uncomfortable, is you have to start saying it out loud. You have to say the thing that sounds weird, scary, awkward. You might have to say it like 100 times before you feel comfortable with it. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to have $1 million team. I'm going to have $1 million team. I'm going to help somebody make six figures. I'm going to help somebody keep six figures. Just saying that out loud. Maybe you never said that before. I'm going to have a $2 million team. And you got to say that 100 times. You got to say it enough times so that it's not awkward anymore. But guys, there's power in the spoken word. Like that's a real thing. And I've been through this before. A lot of you guys know I did that crazy door-to-door book selling thing. That thing changed my life. But building really changed my life. I heard about this thing. This is a 170-year-old company where there was this thing called the Wall of Greats. The Wall of Greats was this wall where people recruited 20 people to go work 80 hours a week, 6 days a week, door-to-door, straight commission for the summer, college kids. And that's a tough thing to do. It's not just to recruit them, but get them to actually go, right? And if you had 20 go out for a summer, you got to be on the Wall of Greats. And I'd see these names. I'd walk the hallways, and I see their names on the wall. And sometimes they did it twice, three times. And normally they built these wonderful organizations that cultivated, so many amazing leaders. And I saw that after my first summer, and I said, man, I want to be on that wall. It felt like a mountain to scale. And it could feel a little like awkward, like, well, who are you to think that you can do something like that? Well, I'm telling you right now, if you don't change that thinking, you never will. And then saying it out loud. Maybe it's a milestone for you to say it out loud in private, let alone saying it out loud to somebody else. let alone get in the habit of telling it to every single person you come across in business, that it becomes something that's normal. So that if you're going to do the work anyway, you might as well tie it to a bigger vision, because people don't follow those who have a smaller vision than they do. They just don't. We don't tend to follow people that have worse habits than we do, worse character traits than we do, which is why it really comes down to us. Like, we are a culture. We are the habits that are building our organization. So, all right. So how do we bring that down to where we are right now? Well, I have an agent that's about to share that I think is building a wonderful foundation to build an organization one day, because she's writing a great story. And that's Amber Lewis. We'll get back to her, you know. So again, a leader knows the way, goes the way, shows the way, right? If you can surrender to a system, then that system will scale your business. You don't have to do it forever, guys. You just have to prove that you know how to master consistency. So, for example, the 3 out of 4, those metrics are so boring. I call them our boring basics: 35 hours, 60 door knocks, 12 presentations, 4,000 a week in annual premium, hitting 3 out of those 4 numbers, being mentally and emotionally committed, even on the inconvenient weeks, to actually work until you hit 3 out of those 4. Okay. If you don't do it once, you can't do it twice. It can become a habit. And guys, you won't have a story. Stories sell. Stories build organizations. You just got to say, I freaking did it. Look, I'm never going to ask you to do something I'm not willing to do or have not done myself at a pretty high level. Boom. That philosophy right there will build you a huge organization if you have the credibility to say, I did it. I did the boring, specific thing I'm asking you to do consistently. And until you master that, you can't graduate to a different kind of thing. You know, and I'm not saying you have to build an organization. Some people, have fabulous livings all by their bad self, and doing a wonderful job, providing a very significant life to those that they love. But we're going to do a lot better at challenging each other to pay it forward, right? So let's say you get into the habit of hitting 3 out of 4. Guys, you actually do that. Okay, give yourself 48 out of 52 weeks. One, your income is going to be great, but now you have a story. You have a story you can tell with credibility and conviction that says, hey, if you pay this price, your life can change. Okay. And then, okay, now I'm doing it. I'm doing the job. Then it's just as simple as somebody seeing it. Okay. I'm sure you guys have heard that analogy that forget what it is. Chinese proverb, whatever, if a tree falls in the wilderness, but nobody saw it or heard it, did it really fall? Or something silly like that. But the same is true. Let's say you just had a $4,000 or $5,000 day, but nobody saw it. Did it really happen? Okay, obviously it happened. But you are the product. You are like this reservoir of conviction and credibility. Like, you are out there doing something that most people don't have the self-discipline, the courage, and the fortitude to do. People are stuck in the rat race out there. They don't know how to get out. They got somebody telling them they have to work a certain amount of hours, and they can't, they're limited in their pay or whatever. You are actually living the American dream right now. Even though maybe you're having a tough day right now, you're paying the price to get to the next level. So here's a formula for building that's super easy. One, you got to know the way, you got to go the way, right? Hit that 3 out of 4. But then just get one person in the car per month to just watch you do it. Guys, it doesn't even matter if you sell something. You probably will, okay? But if they're with you all day long, likes attract likes, you know, and more likely they're going to see you serve some people. They're going to do the math. They're going to be like, wow, you made that much today? Yep. And people work with you. If one person a month that got in the car with you for a whole year, you're going to have a team by the end of the year. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind about that, because it's just that simple. Obviously, we can get into the topic of like, well, how do you get them in the car? Okay, well, the more you're talking about your vision, it'll just start to happen. It will, because you will start thinking about, if I'm going to have a team, what kind of people do I want to work with? What are things am I looking for? Who do I want to associate with? What do I want to attract? Okay, and so you see it, man, there's people everywhere. There's opportunities everywhere. Most people don't love what they do. Most people don't believe what they're doing right now can get them to where they want to go. So then you just get a little bit more bold in asking people, you know, are you totally in love with what you're doing? Do you feel like it can help you? It can help. Do you feel like what you're doing can help you hit your goals in the next 3 to 5 years? Okay, well, hey, I'm really impressed with your attitude. You have great customer service. You seem like you have a great work ethic. I'm in a business that can help you get to six figures or multiple six figures, and you get to help a bunch of people. And I love what I do. I'm looking to add people to my team. You know, and guys, I can talk all day about that stuff, but it's kind of like you just got to get in the door. You just got to get people in the car and watch it do the job. Man, it's really that simple. It really is. We got all the tools in place to help you do that. But I'm telling you right now, we're going to see 20 million in a year with a lot of people that are on the call right now. And after that, it's going to be 40 million a year. And after that, it's going to be 100 million in a year. And that, to me, that's the least I could do for Frank because I think that's awesome. See, if you're thinking about leadership the right way, it's not just when you hit it, but it's like, can you help somebody else hit it? And that's when things get really fun. Like Frank has hit the 100 million mark. I would love to be able to tell Frank one day, Frank, you know, you help somebody else get to 100 million. And then it's just, it just keeps going from there. So all right. Well, let's get ready for our next speaker, Miss Amber Lewis. So, guys, excited to have her on. Look, if you are new to final expense, this person is the one that you're going to want to copy. You're going to want to take some notes on this. And, I just want to give you a warning. If you had a slow start to a week before, you don't want to watch this because she's about to tell you how to finish strong. Okay. Last week, she had a $10,800 week, but it started with 2 0 days. 0 day on Monday, 0 day on Tuesday. But again, guys, not how you start, it's how you finish. You finish with 10,800, 7 Fs on 13 presentations. So just an excellent job. So Miss Amber Lewis, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Good morning.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, hey, thank you for jumping on today. We'll love to hear a little bit about your week. Maybe a little bit about your mindset behind finishing strong. What did you tell yourself, to start the day and in between houses? Yeah, just what it's your, and by the way, congratulations, your best week yet
Thank
with
you.
that kind of start is pretty awesome. So the floor is yours.
Okay. So I really didn't do anything different than what I normally do, which is what you say, control the controllables. So it's just that same mundane, these are my goals, go hit the 3 out of 4, and we're just gonna go do the damn thing. And it turned into a, almost $11,000 week. Um, so I mean, I had, just door knocks, no money on Monday, a sick kid on Tuesday. So, okay, yeah, two back to back 0 days. And so Wednesday morning, just, okay, we're going to go. I got this many appointments. We got this many door knocks. We're just going to go do it like any other day, and get in front of as many people as we can, have as many sits as we can. And I think the first appointment I had on Wednesday, there was the appointment was with a lady, and so she didn't have anything, so we got her set up, and then there was a guy there with her, and she's like, you need to get him a policy as well because he doesn't have one. And so I'm getting his information as well. And and so I kind of snafu'd, and I'm like, oh, okay, is this your son? She's like, no, that's my fiance. I'm like, whoa, okay. So just roll with the punches on that and be like, you go, girl, you get you that younger man and just adapt to the situation. And anyway, it just kind of started the day off on a funny note. And, I made a mistake, but rolled with it and just kept going. But the skinny of it is just do the 3 out of 4, do the same thing that you do every day and just grind away and go get it and go do it. And no excuses. You don't have cell reception, go walk around in the yard. That's what I do. Sometimes you got to find that sweet spot in the backyard to get reception, and just go do it. No excuses.
Amber, I want to highlight something that's been very impressive with your start. So she talked about hit the 3 out of 4. Okay, so those are our metrics: 35 hours, 60 door knocks, 12 presentations, 4,000 in premium, working until you hit 3 out of 4. Amber, you're doing something very rare right now. Obviously, I tell everybody to do this, okay? But rare is the person that actually does, right? Being coachable, being smart enough to be dumb enough to do exactly what you're taught to do. Guys, in her first 7 weeks at Cardinal, she has hit 3 out of 4 every single week. And don't you know, she has potential to maybe set a new rookie record. She's at 46,000 in premium in her first 7 weeks. And yeah, she's been doing a great job. She's been averaging like 6,600 in premium. She would have to pick it up a little bit, but she has the right foundation and the habits to actually do it. So yeah, I wonder if you can share a little bit about how the 3 out of 4 formula has helped you in, kind of building this foundation. Like most people, if they start off on zero on Monday, they start zero on Tuesday, they start kind of losing belief on, honestly, they're just focused too much on sales. And they get in their head, maybe they end up just not doing the work. They say, well, maybe next week, and it goes from there. But you still hit 3 out of 4 last week, you know? So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about how the 3 out of 4 has helped you and, what helps you think, even though it's boring.
Yeah, yeah. So the 3 out of 4 is the goal, right? That's the mission. And so the week prior to last week wasn't my best week. Like I hit my 3 out of 4, but not with premiums being one of those. And so, yeah, I was a little down. I'm like, okay, I really didn't make any money this week. I hit my metrics or whatever. And this is where like leaning on Jenna, she's my rock star and training me and stuff. She can tell, she's been around, she knows. She's like, hey, man, mission accomplished. Get ready. Be excited for next week because the numbers are the numbers. And even though you didn't have the premiums this week, you've had the activity. So get excited, but don't let this week dictate next week. Mission accomplished. You did your 3 out of 4. And so she was my cheerleader the week before. And then even though I had 2 back-to-back 0 days, I just kind of had that ruminating in my mind there. I'm like, yeah, just go get the 3 out of 4. Go mission accomplished and just go do it. And it's going to be okay. Like it's going to work itself out because the numbers are the numbers are the numbers. And so lean on your upline. If you need to vent a little bit and, pity party a little bit, then, your upline can boost you up. And that's okay. Like we all need it. And Jenna was right. She's like, we all need a little boost every once in a while. And I did. I needed it. She gave it to me and let's go get it. And we're human, so.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you're approaching the doors right now and anything you feel like you've been getting better at technically with your presentation, because you've been doing a great job, um, with that. Obviously, you're getting double-digit presentations week after week right now. I think you've been averaging like right around, um, yeah, like 14 presentations per week since you started. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. So getting more comfortable with the script and the door knock approach. Like my approach is like the number 1 on the sheet where I have my bag ready. I don't go back to the car, but that's just me and my personality. Like I'm ready to go right now. Where are we sitting down? Like I don't need to go back to the car and get anything. I'm ready right now. Where do you want me? And so that's my approach is the direct, assumptive, let's go. I'm ready. So and not everybody's receptive. Some people shut me down and
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
just curious, had you ever knocked on somebody's door unannounced before this
Nope.
job?
Never.
Never. Okay.
Well, I take that back. When I was 6, I was a Girl Scout and I showed a shit ton of cookies, but
Yeah.
that was it. So, but that was it.
So how did it feel when you first started, and what did you have to do to get more comfortable being really assumptive at the door, even when they're just like not interested or, just being resistant at first?
So some of it just takes practice. Jenna, I'd tell her, hey, what do I do when they say this? And the more presentations you do, the more sit downs you do, the more people, it's like, oh, I've already got all that taken care of. The more of those objections that you're able to overcome and still get a sit, then you're able to kind of provide like a testimony against that objection. Um, so like, yeah, I've already got a burial policy. Okay, well, prior to one sit down, I had no information about a burial policy, but then we called them and whatever. And so now anytime I speak with somebody at the door and they're like, well, I've got a burial policy. I'm like, okay, perfect. Great. Let's go in. Let's talk about the details, maybe figure out exactly what you got and make sure that it covers 100%. Because a lot of the people that I've talked to, it only covers like 90%. So let's make sure you're 100% covered. And so sometimes that kind of gets over that objection there. I've already got the burial policy or, okay, well, let's do your review. I don't, if you haven't had your review yet, let's get in and do your review. We'll just call them real quick, see what you got, make sure that you're good to go. And then, and if you're good, you're good. And then some people are like, no, get off my property. I'm like, all right, bye. And I've had a few of those. Better just get out of here. Whatever. Okay, whatever, no problem. But the assumptive part of it, like I've been in customer service for so long, I adapt pretty well, I think. So if somebody carries themselves more prim and proper, then I also carry myself prim and proper. If they're kind of more relaxed and slang terminology, then I may also speak that way or carry myself that way. So I kind of assimilate to the way they carry themselves and almost mimic their personality in a way. I mean, not to go unprofessional, like I'm still myself and I'm still professional, but I get in their comfort zone versus my comfort zone because I can adapt and it doesn't bother me. Like I don't care what the kitchen looks like. I don't care. But
That's good. Well, you're obviously focused more on opportunities and not how interested people are. Because, I think that's a big challenge for a lot of new people. It's like, oh, everyone's just not interested. And it's like, I feel like they're still confusing the purpose of a lead.
mhm.
The purpose of a lead is to give you an opportunity with a higher probability prospect, not really about interest. They're 60 to 80. They saw burial insurance, qualified quote, gift card. We just got to get to sit. It's not about if
Mhm.
they're interested at the door. And it seems like you've been doing a good job of that. Obviously you've been knocking on the doors, but um, yeah, you've been doing a good job there. Now, what about the presentation? What do you feel like you've been getting more effective at or comfortable with in the sales conversation? And we can close with that.
Um, so one section that I was kind of struggling on, and this is where if you're not using your Rilla app, go ahead and use that because Naomi's a big help on this too. Was finding the need. And so I started recording, my things, and so Naomi would respond to them and review them, and was like, "Hey, push a little harder here. Like when they said this, you could have pushed here, and that feedback. And you got to be able to take feedback. Like if you can't take constructive criticism, you're never going to make it. Like you got to like put your ego aside for a minute and know that there's people out here that are trying to help you that have been doing this for years and are successful. Like you'll be okay, but use that app and record your sits. And if there's little weak spots, then Naomi can help you with that. But that's where I was kind of struggling, was to find the need. And so just by doing that one thing, and getting that feedback from Naomi, she was able to point it out because I don't know. Like I'm just in the moment, don't
When did
really know where my weakness is, but third
when
party looking in could find it. So
sorry to interrupt, but when did she listen to your recording and give you that feedback?
a couple weeks ago,
A couple
so
weeks ago.
before the 10K week.
Yeah. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Naomi. And then honestly, I mean, thank you to you, Amber. Like again, you have the humility to receive feedback and apply it. Yeah, I mean, you started pretty strong closing. You dipped down to 35, almost 30% closing, and then this past week you jumped up to 54%. So it sounds like you definitely did a better job. I bet you gave you some questions to focus on in the introduction. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just kind of posing like what, and it goes back to reiterate like what's on the script, like like show the lead again, like, hey, when you saw burial insurance, what was going on in your mind? What were you thinking? What was your mindset? And sometimes they start crying, and because they were thinking about their brother and their sister just died, and then the family had nothing, and you got to be ready for that it could be emotional. Like this is not something that people like to talk about, and they get emotional, and that's okay. And sometimes you just got to take a break and let them cry it out and tell them it's going to be okay. And then, okay, and then revert back to the presentation. But yeah, it was mainly ask questions and try to slow down, was and not rush to underwriting, like really trying to build that relationship, find the need, and then segue into, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's just, kind of reiterate, this is what it sounds like you might need. Does that sound about right? Yes. Okay, great. Let's go through some questions and just kind of see what we can find to best fit those needs.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
we're at time, Amber, and thank you so much for being so generous with it and really just being coachable. Like whenever you make a sacrifice, you're never the only one that benefits. Like you're obviously off to a great start, but your story is going to help other people out there. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Again, you're doing the activity and you're using the script. It's common that people kind of get off track after 4 or 5 weeks. So we just kind of get regrounded on the script. Your closing percentage is going to keep going up. So thank you for sharing today.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys, we're at time. Hopefully you got some great stuff out of that. Like I said, guys, it's going to be a huge year. Remember, you are your story. These choices today matter, right? What we are someday going to be, we are now becoming, right? What story are you writing? How big are you thinking? Are you a millionaire in the making? A millionaire in production? If you're a millionaire in production, you're eventually going to be a millionaire. Okay, that's the cool thing about this business. So I'd love to see that together. All right, guys, that's all I got. You have a great day. Well, I'm sorry. I almost forgot. Remember, it takes all day to have a great day. It takes all week to have a great week. Any given house can double or triple your week. It happens all the time. Might as well be you. So keep it simple. No means next. The answer's behind the next door. And remember, the Lord will provide, especially if we cooperate.